great African ancestor right here, this woman is a saint to me. There's not an imam, there's not a preacher, there's not a rabbi, there's not a deacon, there's not a deaconess, there's not a first lady of a church, there's not a Negro walking this earth who compare to this right here. There's not a Negro walking this earth. You know who she was running from on the Underground Railroad? Who was she? Who did she have to look out for? Snitches. Harriet Tubman had to look out for the snitches. And what did she tell the snitches? What did Queen Mother Araminta Ross, a.k.a. Harriet the Goat Tubman, tell the snitches? The historically black colleges and universities are at a crossroads. Right now, historically black colleges and universities are at a crossroads because the U.S. government has redefined you. So clearly, we are just as mentally enslaved today as we were 400 years ago. We are as mentally enslaved today as we were 400 years ago. In fact, we may be worse. We may actually be worse now than we've ever been. And see, what we failed to realize over the past 50 years, the post-Dr. King years, what we failed to realize is every subsequent decade, new minority groups were added to the political conversation to detract and distract away from the issues of the American African. Let me say that again. Every year since Dr. King's assassination, every decade, new minority groups were added to the political conversation to distract and deflect away from the issues that affect black folks. They started with the rainbow community. That was the first group they used to deflect and distract away from black folks, the rainbows. And then the rainbows, they turned white women into a minority. Let's talk about that for a minute. Rainbows and white women are minorities. Rainbow gang members and white women are minorities. Here's the question that has to be asked. How can you be a minority and a member of the majority at the same time? How? A rainbow white man is still a member of the white racist power structure. Just because he has a particular sexual preference does not negate the fact that he benefits from power and privilege as a white male in America. How can he be a minority and at the same time be a privileged member of the majority? Same thing for the white female. How can she be a minority as a white woman and then at the same time be a privileged and protected member of the white power structure of the United States? You can't have it both ways. But America has it both ways. The white man, if he is sexually confused, is a minority. And the white woman, because of her gender, is a minority. So they use these groups to infiltrate the so-called minority community and redirect resources away from black folks back to white folks. By making the white woman a minority, you can redirect resources and opportunities back to white people. It looks like you're helping so-called minorities, but the resources and the opportunities go right back to white people. See, by making the gay white male a minority, you can recycle the resources right back to the white community. By making the white woman a minority, you can recycle the resources right back to the white community. Clever move. Clever move that they pulled during the 1964 Civil Rights Bill. Clever move that they pulled during the 1964 Civil Rights Bill by including the words gender and orientation. Gender and orientation. They knew that if we tuck gender in, we can redirect resources and opportunities back to our community by way of the white woman. And if we include orientation in, we can redirect opportunities and resources back to the white community through the gay white male. Clever move. Clever move. Clever move. And that's why women benefited more from affirmative action, white women and black people, because we allowed them to define the terms. We have to make sure we define ourselves. One of the problems with black folk is we keep on letting the white racist power structure define us. Stop doing that. Even right now, the historically black colleges and universities are at a crossroads. Right now, historically black colleges and universities are at a crossroads because the U.S. government has redefined you. I'm talking to the presidents of the historically black colleges and universities. I'm talking to the alumni of the historically black colleges and universities. I'm talking to the students of the historically black colleges and universities. I'm talking to the communities where the HBCUs reside. The government has just redefined you. And the question I have for our HBCU leadership, the question I have for our HBCU leadership, are you going to allow the government to redefine you? Or are you going to stand up and clarify your self-definition? Are you going to let the government redefine you? Or are you going to stand up and clarify your redefinition? What do I mean by that? The HBCUs should reject being included in the minority servicing colleges and universities designation. The MSCU is not the HBCU. 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 They're now calling them minority serving colleges and institutions. They're now calling them minority serving colleges and institutions. So they can include the Latinos, the Afghanis, the Rainbow Gangers, the Chinese, the Arabs, the East Indians, minority serving institute. You see what they're going to do? They're going to redirect the resources back to white folks. Because if you serve women, you're a minority serving institution. If you serve immigrants, you're a minority serving institution. If you serve the Rainbow Gang, you're a minority servicing institution. So the HBCUs right now, need to become unapologetic. The HBCUs right now need to become unapologetically African. The HBCUs need to stand up right now and say, we are not minority serving institutions. HBCUs need to draft a collective letter to President Biden. Yes, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Senate, and the House of Reps, and let them know we are not minority serving institutions. We are historically black colleges and universities who were created out of a need to educate, empower, and prepare the formerly enslaved African who built this country and has suffered from discrimination, racism, and dehumanization from the time we set foot on American soil until this very day. You cannot lump us with the Hispanics because the Hispanics didn't go through what we went through. You can't lump us with the Rainbow Gang because they didn't go through what we went through. You can't lump us with the Afghan refugees. They didn't go through what we went through. You can't lump us with the Chinese, the Arabs, the East Indians, the Mexicans. They didn't go through what we went through. Our history is a direct result of the enslavement of Africans in America. You will not lump us in. The HBCUs could trigger a political revolution right now. The HBCUs, if they wanted to, could trigger a political revolution. The HBCUs right now could be the vanguard of the resurrection of American African consciousness if they took a stand right now. If they took a stand right now and rejected being included in the minority serving institutions category, the HBCUs should reject it. The HBCUs should march on the White House. That's right. There need to be a 1,000,000-man march. A 1,000,000-man march by the HBCU students and alumni and faculty and administration. What if all 101 HBCUs? What if all 101 HBCUs? What if all 101 HBCUs showed up in DC together? Students, alumni, faculty. It'll be the largest gathering in Washington, D.C. history. It'll be the largest gathering in Washington, D.C. history. It'll be the largest gathering in Washington, D.C. history. And you would force Joe Biden to raise that $2 billion back to $45 billion. You would force Joe Biden to raise that $2 billion back to $45 billion. That's what needs to happen. Black fraternities and sororities on the HBCU campus, forget about the parties and the step shows, family. Forget about the parties and the step shows, family. Black fraternities and sororities, forget about the colleges and the step shows right now. It's about political organization. Okay? Those fraternities and sororities, Alpha Phi Alpha and Kappa Alpha Psi and Omega Psi Phi and Phi Beta Sigma and Zeta Phi Beta and Alpha Kappa Alpha and Sigma Gamma Rho and Delta Sigma Theta and the Iotas and everybody else, y'all were founded on service and empowerment of African people. Most of you were founded at HBCUs. You were founded at the HBCUs. So it's time for the black fraternities and sororities, the Divine Nine. It's time for you to put the step shows to the side, the pledging to the side, the parties to the side, the frat drinks to the side, and it's time for you to go back to your original mission. It's time for you to get back to the business of why the Divine Nine was created. Y'all need to lead the charge. What if the Divine Nine? What if the Divine Nine said, we're leading the charge. We want all black HBCU students, alumni, family, staff to join us in D.C. We marching on Washington until this government acknowledges us for the historical and the contemporary role and relevance we play in Black American survival. We want our money back, and we will not be lumped in with the Latinos, the Hispanics, the Asians, the Arabs, the Mexicans, the Rainbows, the Afghanis, or anybody else. That's what should happen. That's what should happen. That's what should happen. The Congressional Black Caucus don't want that to happen. The Congressional Black Caucus don't want that to happen. The Congressional Black Caucus would be more terrified. The Congressional Black, those 59 Negroes of the CBC. And to me, CBC stands for Coons Be Coonin'. CBC stands for Coons Be Coonin'. CBC stands for Coons Be Coonin'. That's what CBC stands for me, because I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out what is the relevance of the Congressional Black Caucus to the survival of Black America. I'm trying to figure that out. What has the Congressional Black Caucus done to deal with miseducation systemically? What has the CBC done to deal with mass incarceration systemically? What has the CBC done to deal with gentrification systemically? What has the CBC done to do with economic castration systemically? What has the CBC done to do with police genocide systemically? The CBC is more afraid of an HBCU march on Washington than the government, because you expose them more than you expose the white power structure. See, the House Negro is supposed to help the field Negro. The House Negro is supposed to help the field Negro. The House Negro is supposed to help the field Negro. Not all House Negroes were sellouts. Not all House Negroes were sellouts. See, a House Negro only tells you where you are. Do you work in the field or do you work in the house? Okay? Even in the house, you had revolutionary enslaved Africans. Even in the house, you had revolutionary enslaved Africans who would set the masses' house on fire, poison the masses' food, listen to the masses' meetings to let the field slaves know how you can run away. Don't think because you was in a house, you didn't serve the liberation struggle. Oh no, you can serve the liberation struggle. Adam Clayton Powell was in the house, but he served the liberation struggle. Harold Washington was in the house, but he served the liberation struggle. Maynard Jackson was in the house, but he served the liberation struggle. You can be in the house and still serve the liberation struggle, just like you could be in the field and be a stone cold snitch on the Black liberation struggle. See, we be talking about snitching in the wrong context. We've been talking about snitching in the wrong context. We've been talking about snitching in the wrong context. We've been talking about snitching in the wrong context. We've been talking about snitching in the wrong context. See, y'all talking about who's snitching on the dope boys, who's snitching on the shooters. Nah, y'all got it all wrong. The original snitch was the House Negro or the field Negro who betrayed the revolutionary Negro. Let me say it again. So we're going to get down to the basics today. You're dealing with King Kong consciousness. When I go live to teach. When I go live to educate. That's what I do. That's what separates the boss from the boys. That's what separates the king from the coons. The original snitch. See, when I say stop snitching, when I say stop snitching, I'm not talking about gangsterism and crime. I'm not talking about that. When I say stop snitching, I'm talking to the house Negroes and the field Negroes who be snitching on the liberation struggle. That's right. That's right. Stop snitching on the revolutionaries. Stop snitching on the liberation struggle. Stop snitching on the conscious organizations. When I say stop snitching, I'm talking about from a political context. When I say stop snitching, I'm talking about, hey, Octavia, good morning, baby. That's my Facebook wife, Octavia Carter. That's my Facebook wife. Listen to me, brothers and sisters. I'm coming out with a whole line of stop snitching. Stop snitching on the freedom fighters. Stop snitching on the activists. Stop snitching on the community organizers. See, an FBI informant is a snitch. A snitch. The pastors of the black church, many of them are snitches. That's the real snitch. When we say stop snitching, we're not talking about protecting killers. We're talking about protecting the leaders. Dr. King was snitched out. Malcolm was snitched out. Garvey was snitched out. Mega was snitched out. You saw Judas and the Black Messiah, the story of Fred Hampton. You saw Judas and the Black Messiah, the story of Fred Hampton. That was a snitch. He had a snitch inside. So when we say stop snitching, we saying stop running back to the power structure. Telling on the brothers and sisters who are doing the real work. Stop running back to the power structure, telling on the brothers and sisters who are doing the real work. And I hate to say this. I hate to say this. No disrespect to the black churches who do the real work. No disrespect to the black churches who do the real work. No disrespect to the black churches who do the real work. But the black church has become an institution of political snitches. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. I want you to understand, overstand, understand. I want you to understand, overstand, and understand. I want you to understand, overstand, and understand. You see this woman right here? You see this woman right here? You see this woman right here? She had to duck snitches. The Underground Railroad, Queen Mother Harriet, she had to duck snitches. She had to duck snitches, brothers and sisters. This brave black woman right here, this great African ancestor right here, this woman is a saint to me. There's not an imam, there's not a preacher, there's not a rabbi, there's not a deacon, there's not a deaconess, there's not a first lady of a church, there's not a Negro walking this earth who compare to this right here. There's not a Negro walking this earth. You know who she was running from on the Underground Railroad? Who was she? Who did she have to look out for? Snitches. Harriet Tubman had to look out for the snitches. And what did she tell the snitches? What did Queen Mother Araminta Ross, a.k.a. Harriet the Goat Tubman, tell the snitches? What did Queen Mother Araminta Ross, a.k.a. Harriet the Goat Tubman, tell the snitches? When they wanted to turn around, and go back, they said, Harriet, I'm not going to tell on you. I just want to go back. I'm not built for this. I'm not built for this liberation stuff. I'm not built for this independent FDMG Academy stuff. I'm not built for this Team Pan-African stuff. I'm not built for no hospitals and building no banks and no supermarkets. I'm not into that. Can I just wait for my reparations? Can I just keep spending my money on Louis and Gucci and Jordan and Caddy Truck and just wait for my reparations? What did Queen Mother Harriet Tubman tell the snitches? What did Queen Mother Minty tell the snitches? What did Queen Mother Minty? She said, you go on or you die. Dead niggas tell no tales. Black power. Oh. What did she say? What did Queen Mother Harriet, Queen Mother Minty say? When they wanted to go back, she cocked the piece. She cocked the piece. And she looked the snitch dead in the eye. Not a crime snitch, a liberation snitch. Not a criminal snitch, a political snitch. She looked the snitches on the Underground Railroad dead in the eye, and Queen Mother Minty said, you listen here. Dead niggas tell no tales. You will go on or you die. That's what I'm talking about. She had no patience for the snitch.